Well, the Palestinian Red Crescent Society says 15 medics and rescuers who were killed by Israeli forces in Gaza last month were shot in the upper body with intent to kill. The Israeli military has claimed that its soldiers fired on terrorists who'd been approaching them in what they say were suspicious vehicles, but footage recovered from the mobile phone of one of the slain aid workers appears to contradict that narrative. With more, we're joined now by Tommaso Della Longa, he's spokesperson for the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. We had spoken to you about this story last week. Since then, this mobile footage has emerged. Tommaso, what does it show?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot for having me tonight. What it shows, it's a very disturbing and shocking video, which is actually just a confirmation of what we already knew from Palestine Red Crescent colleagues. So it's clear that the lights of the vehicles are on, that the Red Crescent emblem, protective emblem, is on the ambulances, but also on the vests of our colleagues. And then it shows that when colleagues arrive in the place where they were supposed to attend wounded, they came under attack. And of course, it's disturbing, but it's also really unacceptable. And the thing that really is stuck in my mind is the words of this colleague carried the mobile phone, and then the mobile phone was with him. And then before dying, it's saying, "Forgive me, Mom, I choose the path of helping the others." And I don't think that anyone in the world who is a first aider should ever face something like this.
It's very difficult, obviously, for everybody working at the organisation, as well as those aid workers, friends and families. Now, the NGO, you're saying that these people were shot with intent to kill, and you're calling for an international commission of inquiry. But Tommaso, what good can come of such an investigation when Israel at this point appears to be acting with increasing impunity in Gaza?
Well, I mean, thanks for the question, and I think that part of the answer is already in the question. The reality here is that we need to stick to the rules and to the international rules. And then, as our Secretary General said a few days ago, impunity in any place breeds impunity in every place. And this is what we need to stop. There is a trend happening in Gaza, but we have been seeing in Sudan, in Democratic Republic of Congo, in different places of the world, where humanitarian workers and civilians are less and less protected and respected. So I think that calling for justice helps to stop this trend, and also for the family and the colleagues of the people who were killed. I think that at least they were not protected, they were killed, but at least they deserve justice.
And Tommaso, what do you and your organisation make of the claim coming from the US that Hamas has been using ambulances and more broadly human shields for terrorism?
Well, to my knowledge, when I'm talking about Palestine Red Crescent, I don't have any information about that, and I didn't see any evidence about that. Then, of course, what we've been saying since the beginning of this horrible conflict is that medical facilities, hospitals, ambulances should be, of course, respected and protected, but also should never be used for any military purpose. But then again, I think that what this video showed clearly is that the story said by Palestine Red Crescent witnesses and colleagues was true. And so I think that this is the most important part. There were several ambulances, they were not suspicious, they were there to save lives, and they were killed.
And Tommaso, UN agencies today warning of critical food and medical shortages in Gaza. We've spoken about this before several times. Exactly how dire is the situation currently for people in Gaza?
As a spokesperson, I should always find the right word to speak about a situation. I have to admit, and it's not rhetorical, I don't have any more words to speak about the situation in the Gaza Strip. It's an horror, it's a nightmare, it's hell on earth. I mean, what we are seeing is a situation where again and again the basics are not there. Again and again, food and water, access to food and water and health, it's an issue. And again, we are seeing a situation that is keeping deteriorating day after day. Now it's been more than a month without any humanitarian aid, any good entering in the Gaza Strip. And of course, the more this go ahead, the more the suffering of people will increase. And this is why we have been calling for entrance of humanitarian aid, for safety and access, and of course the release of the hostages. But sadly, after 18 months, if you take away the 6 weeks of ceasefire, our calls stay the same and are unheard.
And meanwhile, Tommaso, the Israeli Prime Minister is being hosted again in the White House for a second time since Donald Trump returned to power. Trump himself, a little earlier, saying that he hoped there would be, renewed ceasefire soon for Gaza. Is there any hope at this point that the West can weigh on Israeli actions in the territory?
Well, I think that this question is for the people who are meeting in this very moment or are negotiating any possible ceasefire. Of course, as a humanitarian, I need to stay even in the darkest time, like the ones that we are, sincerely speaking, experiencing these days that are very, very difficult. We need to stay optimistic. So we do hope that we will come back to the ceasefire situation. We do hope that the conflict will be stopped. But at this stage, we're only seeing suffering increasing and increasing in the Gaza Strip.
Tommaso, as ever, thanks so much for your time on the programme. We do appreciate it. That's Tommaso Della Longa, spokesperson for the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies.